You're responsible for the action that you have taken, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, any other point? Garima Mataji, Rohini Mataji.
No, no other points.
Okay. So why does the Lord use the word right here in saying you have a right to perform your duty? We never say right to perform the duty, right? It's the responsibility to perform the duty and right towards the result. But he is actually using that in a bit different manner. The right he is using for the action of duty. So ये क्यों हो रहा है? What does it mean? What does he want to indicate to us in this scenario? नहीं? Nobody? So right was used in the context of what we should not or what we cannot perform of some other varna. So a Kshatriya has a right to perform Kshatriya's duty, but does not have a right to perform Brahmana's duty. So because Arjun had mentioned that I would prefer to beg, take a begging bowl and go door to door and beg for my daily living, that will be better than me killing the sons of Dhritarashtra. So he is saying that a Kshatriya is not supposed to beg. You do not have a right to perform somebody else's duty. You have a right to perform your duty. You are a Kshatriya. You are supposed to fight. You are supposed to protect the weaker people. You can fight. You cannot do somebody else's duty. That is what he is saying. Then never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of the activities. That is the third, which is understandable, right? We think that because I did it, I am responsible for it. Generally, we try to take the credit when the results are good. When the results are bad, we immediately blame somebody else, right? When we are driving, if we are able to drive from Sharjah to Dubai in, let's say, 15 minutes, okay, in the peak traffic, then we will take credit for that to say, okay, see how I have driven so nicely in just 15 minutes I came. But let's say while doing that, if one or two accidents happen, then we will say, okay, somebody else did a mistake because of that the accident happened. So we consider ourselves as the cause of the results of activities, especially when it is good, but not when it is bad. Krishna is saying good and bad is one aspect of looking at it, but you are never the cause of the results of your activities. Meaning, it's not that you can say that I have not done this, but you cannot say that I am the sole cause of it. So, especially when things are good. Yeah. So, in Arjuna's case, Krishna is saying that you might think that you are killing the people, but actually, it is various other factors that have come together because of which so many warriors have come on the battlefield, and they are anyway going to kill, going to be killed, which is speaks in the 11th chapter. So he says that in the universal form that he displays, he says that I have already killed these people. You just become the nimitta, just the instrument, just that, there is a saying in Marathi which says that, a crow sits on a branch and the branch fell down. Okay. And the crow thinks that he is responsible for, he is so strong that the branch fell down because of him. So it is not that way. The branch had anyway reached a stage wherein the next moment it would have fallen. Okay, so when a crow sits down, that minor half a kg, 1 kg weight is also sufficient for it to fall down. So the crow is not the primary cause of that branch to fall down. So that way he is saying that the you just become a nimitta for this one. So somebody may say, okay, I cannot stop, meaning considering myself as the cause of the activities. तो मैं activity करूंगा ही नहीं. So he is saying even that also is not in your control. Never be attached to not doing your duty. So in the third chapter, did I show you this verse? In the third chapter, what does Bhagwan say about doing a duty? ये वर्ष दिखाया था मैंने। नहीं कश्चित क्षणमपि जातु तिष्ठत्य कर्म कृत कार्यते यह वशः कर्म सर्व प्रकृति जैर्गुणे। Everyone is forced to act helplessly. These words are very important. Even a single word carries huge amount of meaning. So firstly, everyone. hmm? So nobody can escape. Forced, meaning it's not your decision whether to act or not. You are forced. You are compelled to act. And how? Helplessly. Okay, you can't say I will act in certain scenario and not act in certain scenario. You are absolutely given no choice and you are forced to act. There is no factor which is in your control. And how? According to the qualities acquired from the modes of material nature, sattva, raja, tamogun, which we spoke about in the 45th verse. Okay, therefore no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Nahi kasti kshanam api. Kshanam is a moment. Not even for a moment can one say, I will not work. He is forced to act helplessly. In such a scenario, you have only three options that remain with you. One is to work for a positive result, one is to work for a negative result, and one is to work for without any result as a matter of duty. When you work for a positive result meaning some material benefit, then that is called as karma kanda, which we learnt about 2 3 lectures back. Then the other one is to work for a negative result, which is papa karma, okay, which nobody should ideally do. So that's why Bhagwan speaks Bhagavad Gita at one level higher itself. And the third one is to perform without result, which is in the beginning stage, it is called as karma yoga. And that karma yoga is what he has started explaining from verse number 39-40 onwards. Okay. So this particular verse forms the basis of karma yoga until the end of 5th chapter. Okay. Anybody, any questions? क्या हुआ?
No questions.
Okay. Deepak Prabhu, Rohini Mataji, Karima Mataji, Vijit Prabhu, any question?
No.
नहीं प्रभु जी.
Chalo, ठीक है. So let's read verse number 48. Okay. Yeah, start. योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि
संगम त्यक्त्वा धनंजय
संगम त्यक्त्वा धनंजय
सिद्ध्य सिद्ध्योः समो भूत्वा
सिद्धयो समो भूत्वा
समत्वं योग उच्यते.
समत्वं योग उच्यते.
Anybody translation?
Yeah, I can do it. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachments to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga.
Okay. So this particular verse gives us the definition of yoga. So performing duty equipoised, what does it mean? It basically means that the duty has to be done irrespective of the results. The duty has to be done whether the result is going to be positive or it is going to be negative, right? So the closest example in the material world which we can give, um, which almost matches what the Lord would expect us to do, is a mother and a child relationship. So mother knows that the child feels hungry at a certain time of the day. So every day she cooks and makes the food ready by that time. But there will be times when she is not feeling well, or when she has lot of work, or she has to go outside and do some work, or whatever it is. There will be times, due to various reasons, she may not be able to prepare food for her before that time. So what she does, she doesn't say, that, okay, I don't have time, you remain hungry today. No, she says, irrespective of my physical difficulties, okay, or even if she is, mentally harassed by whatever circumstances, irrespective of any situation, she says that I will still perform my duty as a mother for you as my child. That is called as performing the duty equipoised. Do we do the same thing for our office? No, it's the same person. Okay, a mother towards her child and the same mother working for another company. In some difficult circumstances, the mother would prefer to take a leave, yeah, either sick leave or whatever it is. But it's the same person. But when the relationship is so strong, then she ensures that no other material event can actually impact or impede her in performing her duty towards her child. That is called as performing the duty equipoised. Okay. Even if somebody comes and tells her that this child is going to create many problems for you when he grows up, she will say, fine, I believe you as an astrologer, but I will still perform my duty for towards my child. Whatever he does later, that's not my concern right now. So that is performing the duty equipoised. Yeah, we already read about abandoning all attachment to success and failure. We talked about it in the verse number 38, when Krishna says, Sukha dukhe samay krutva labha labho jaya jaya. Whether you get a labh, that is profit, or alabh, that is loss, jay or parajay, which is victory or defeat, or happiness or distress. You have to give up everything and continue to perform your duty. And if you are able to do in this way, it is called as you are a yogi. You are performing yoga, which is in this particular scenario, he is talking about karma yoga only. Okay. Now, there are two things basically. If you want to teach somebody, you can teach in a negative manner or you can teach in a positive manner. So let's say you have a child at home. So the child is doing lot of masti. Okay. So what would you teach the child? Don't go there. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't touch this. Don't touch that. Correct? So your intention is right that the child shouldn't harm himself or someone by doing something which is not supposed to be done. But the manner of teaching is negative, wherein you are telling him not to do something. But that what is he supposed to do, that is not told. So the positive way of teaching things is, what do you want the child to do? You teach that to him. Automatically being engrossed in that activity, he will forget what he is not supposed to do. So that way both objectives are achieved. In this particular case, at this stage in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling, do not be attached to your fruits. That's a negative way of teaching. But he is not telling that offer the fruit to me. And what does it mean? We will see later. But that's the positive way of teaching something which he is purposely not doing. Because at this point of time, he has not, unveiled himself. He has not mentioned anything about himself to tell Arjun that the person whom you are supposed to work is me. That he has not said yet. He is only diverting Arjun from the negative territory and will gradually bring him to the positive territory. Okay. So that's why when I was mentioning the three types of action, na, punya karma, pap karma, and something without results, that something without result is called as something called as akarma. Okay, which we will learn in the 4th chapter, the 17th verse. But at this point of time, Krishna is not explaining that. So akarma is something when you do not work for neither a positive nor a negative result. But there is a difference between akarma and bhakti. Bhakti meaning positively working for Krishna. Akarma meaning working for no result. So bhakti is also working for no result only, but it is a positive attachment. But here Krishna is diverting us away from the negative attachment. Okay, so now in this particular context, he is telling not to get attached to the fruits. Gradually, over a period of Bhagavad Gita, he will teach us that offer these fruits to Krishna, offer the results to Krishna, okay, which we will learn over a period of time. Hare Krishna. I think we will not go deeper into it. If you have any question, let me know. Anybody has any question around this one? No?
No, Prabhu.
Okay. So let's look at verse number 49. Durena yhavaram karma
Dureena hai
Durena
avaram
avaram
karma.
karma
buddhiyogat dhananjaya
buddhi
Buddhi
yoga
Buddhi yogad dhananjaya.
dhananjaya
buddhau sharamanvichha
Buddhau
buddhau
sharanam
sharanam
anvichya.
aviccha
kripana phala hetavah.
kripana
Karpanaha
Kripana
phal
phala
hetavaha.
Translation, please.
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distance by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Hare Krishna.
So now the Lord is gradually giving a little more information. The first, what he is telling, Durena avaram karma. Avaram meaning abominable activities, meaning very bad, very bad. What do you think Krishna is referring here abominable as abominable? What is he referring as abominable? See,
sinful activities.
sinful activities. Okay. What else could it be? See, until now, you also learned the first chapter fully and the previous 48 verse. Okay. Arjun also has learned the same number of verses. But Arjun understood the meaning of the word abominable to a certain extent, but some of that he understood it incorrectly, and that is confirmed by the question he asked in verse number 1 and 2 in third chapter. So what according to you is abominable?
Not doing a prescribed duty.
Okay, fine, good try. What else? Anybody?
Materialistic activities, Prabhu, is it?
Can you elaborate if you don't mind?
Yeah, such as sense gratification, any kind of, right, where we indulge ourselves more. Yeah.
Okay, sense gratification, do you mean a kind of a papa karma or a punya karma? Sense gratification can be achieved via both.
It could be, I think, here in this context, maybe more pap karma.
Papa karma. Okay, okay, fine. Anybody else would like to try? What do you think?
maybe
But
like
Prabhu, I think it should
selfish.
both, not only pap, any kind of abnormal activity, right?
Okay,
Which entangle us into this karam bandhan, that kind of
okay,
activity. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Sorry, Mataji.
No worries, please.
Yeah, you want to say something, Manju Mataji?
No, I was just saying like selfishness that you have, where
Okay, okay. So
The
Krishna,
sorry,
huh,
the
huh,
the karma by which you expect something to get something, that's called an abominable activity, like a karam activity karam, जिसे हम कुछ चाहे, कुछ अचीव करना चाहें या उसका रिजल्ट चाहें, is called that.
okay. Yeah, that's quite a close answer. but a specific would be what is called as karma kanda. Okay, so one thing you need to understand, the audience of Bhagavad Gita. Who is Bhagavad Gita spoken for? Okay, so there are various levels of activities. Okay, please hear this carefully. It's very important to understand. So the lowest level is a papi, one who performs sinful activities. The next level is the papi, the person who performs sinful activities. He does those activities which are mentioned in the Shastra as not to be done, or he does not do those activities which are mentioned in the Shastra as to be done. So that's a papi activity, yeah, a papi person. Okay. The next higher level is one who abides by the laws of the scriptures. What is mentioned to be done, he does. What is mentioned not to be done, he doesn't do. But his mentality is such that he wants results, positive material benefits out of the activities that he performs. And he performs those activities only because he is going to get some material benefit. That is called as karma kanda. Then the next higher level is karma yoga, which means you are performing the activity not in the want of a result, but as a matter of duty, which is what Krishna is now actually referring to. Okay. So now Bhagavad Gita, you will see the big difference between Bhagavad Gita and various other scriptures is they they do not address, the audience of this one is not a papi vyakti, which means the level of Bhagavad Gita is above the papa karma at all altogether. It starts off at karma kanda level. So for person who is at a papi level, there are various other scriptures. So this scripture is so pure that it does not involve anything about the papi vyakti. In the 16th chapter, he has mentioned about the type of people who are demoniac in nature. Okay, so he talks about how to identify such people, what is the destination of such people. That he has mentioned. But overall, Bhagavad Gita is meant for a minimum a person who is at minimum karma kandi level, meaning he performs an activity although for material benefits, but he does not perform a pap. Okay, so that clearly mentions that this abominable activity does not refer to pap. Then what is the next lowest level? That is a karma kandi level. Okay, which means an activity performed for the sake of material benefits as per the directions of the scripture. Okay, and had that result not been positive, they would not have performed the activity. So Krishna is referring to these kind of people and their activities as abominable. Why abominable? What do you think? Now I have explained the pap, karma kanda, karma yoga here. So why do you think somebody who is following the scriptures, although for the intention of material benefit, Krishna considers him to be abominable? Why do you think? अभी आप कोई चैरिटी करने
That
जा रहे हो? हाँ, please. Okay.
any
Yeah, please.
I mean you any act or karma which is done to get the materialistic world, materialistic things, that again will be like an attachment, and वो कर्म बंधन में बंधने वाला ही, मतलब मिल गया फिर दोबारा कुछ और कर दिया तो हम फिर वही कर्म बंधन में बन जाएंगे, एंड देन लाइफ एंड बर्थ के साइकिल में बन जाएंगे. इसीलिए कृष्णा wants to restrain us from that. So that's why
Exactly.
कर्म का और योगी life का
Exactly.
जीना.
Yes, very valid. Perfect. Perfect. So because the karma that binds you to this material world in the form of birth and death, in the cycle of birth and death, is abominable, because you got a good opportunity to utilize this life for the sake of getting rid of the cycle of birth and death. But what did you do? You spent that life enjoying the material benefits. And that is abominable because you wasted a great opportunity. And this great opportunity was wasted when you when you perform karma kanda. That's why he is calling abominable activities, meaning he's referring to karma kanda as abominable activities. Okay. And how do you keep distant? By buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga, Prabhupada translates here as devotional service, okay, which is the actual meaning of it. But at this stage of uh, what do you say? At this stage of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has not introduced Bhakti Yoga at all. But what is Buddhi Yoga? Okay, so Buddhi Yoga meaning in the beginning, in the beginning of our spiritual life, when we perform Karma Yoga, it is called as Buddhi Yoga. But as we mature in our spiritual life and we perform Bhakti Yoga, then that is Buddhi Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga is a term which encompasses Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. But depending on your stage of maturity in spiritual life, it can either refer to Karma Yoga or it can refer to Bhakti Yoga. At this point of time, it actually refers to Karma Yoga. Okay, but because this verse has deeper meaning of the application, the implementation at a matured stage also, that's why it can mean Bhakti Yoga also. And that's why Buddhi Yoga as a common term is used by the Lord here. Okay, so this first line is clear, I hope. Any question around this one? Is it simple to understand or matter थोड़ा difficult हो रहा है, bouncer जा रहा है?
You can understand it, but then, when you think of how do you put this into practice or how do you go about it, that is where, it
You are
requires a
right.
lot of thought and
Yes,
yeah.
I completely agree to it. Yeah, but just give Bhagavad Gita a little more time. Okay, the practical application you will see very shortly. Okay, especially when we reach Bhakti Yoga section, you will see everything is practical. And give me one moment. I will explain you why it is explained in this manner by the Lord. Yeah, I will come to this point. Anybody else has any question around this first line? This is important to understand so that you can understand the importance of human life. Jijit Prabhu, Deepak Prabhu, Rani Mataji, Karima Mataji.
All good, Prabhuji. All good.
Yeah, प्रभु जी आप explain कीजिए. We will answer our doubts, right?
Sorry, Prabhu, I didn't understand.
Hey, Prabhu, I think समझ तो आ रहा है, but it will take time to digest all information,
Yeah,
right?
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now we will look at the second one. Buddha Sharanam Anvicha Krupana Phala Hetava. Okay. Okay. Buddha meaning a intelligent person in the by using the consciousness and the intelligence in a proper manner. Sharanam Anvicha. He should surrender. The Prabhupada translates this surrender unto the Lord because what he actually intends, which is confirmed by the subsequent verses of the chapter 7 onwards, Prabhupada has already mentioned this here. But he is, as I told you, Krishna only says you do something, but you do for whom, that Krishna has not exposed so far, and that he doesn't do until he reaches almost the end of 6th chapter. In bits and pieces, he mentions at different places, but the biggest exposure about himself happens when Bhakti Yoga starts. So you can say that unto the Lord is not there. He is only saying surrender your consciousness. Buddha Sharanam Anvicha. Try to surrender your consciousness, to whom has not been mentioned. And Kripana Phala Hetavaha. Hetavaha meaning with the intention of obtaining phala, that is results. Krupana is a miserly person. So what he is saying is the miserly people, they perform their activities with the intention of enjoying their fruits. Okay, how is it applicable to the current context? So for that, let us understand the meaning of the word miser. So miser, according to us, is somebody who does not spend money. Correct? So now a miser, he does not understand the value of money, because of which he does not spend it on where it is supposed to be. Okay, so we see people who will sacrifice their health but not spend on proper food also. Yeah. Then they will preserve money, and whatever is mandatory necessary for their living, they will not spend money for that as well. We see that on a regular basis. Now, what does it mean that when you give up your body, that money still exists over there? Had you utilized that money for your body in the right manner, maybe you could have lived on for a few more years. But the miserly person values money more than the body, and he is ready to give up the body to preserve the money, but not use it for the right purpose. So what Krishna is saying here is this miserly attitude, you are ready to utilize this body to enjoy material benefit, which is not its intended use. Instead, you should utilize this body to perform activities which align with the goal of human life. So because a miserly person does not use it for the right purpose, similarly, the attitude of a miserly person and the person who is a karma kandi is the same. Because a karma kandi also does not use his body, his life for obtaining the spiritual goal. Instead, he uses it for karma kandi actions. That's why he compares such behavior with uh, a miserly person. Now, you might have heard me saying this before, but I'll speak that again. There is something called as excellent, good, and bad. Have I mentioned this before? So now,
Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah, so bad, definitely we do not want to perform. Good, everybody would like to perform. But good is good until it is compared with bad. But good becomes bad by itself when it is compared with excellent. So I don't do any sinful activity. Yeah, or let's say I perform sinful activity, that is clearly bad. If somebody comes and say I do not perform any sinful activity, we will say it is good. But does it mean that he's performing the right activity? That's not necessary. He might say, okay, I donate to people, I do this, I do that, I charity and this and that and all that, because I want lot of benefits from God. That is good. But is it excellent? No, it is not excellent. Doing such a charity or some help to some poor person and whatever it is good. No doubt about it. But it can become excellent if you do it without the intention of expecting anything back from the Lord. Then that would be excellent. So this karma kanda is good when it is compared with a sinful activity, but karma kanda is bad when it is compared with bhakti yoga. So that's why Krishna is saying here, apply your buddhi, the intelligence that I have given you, apply that. Okay. And then with the right consciousness, perform your duty. Okay. Any question? आप लोग क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछते तो sometimes I feel कि you have either understood everything or you have understood nothing. तो क्या है तभी I think I should start asking questions to you.
No, as we even Deepak Prabhuji said that, we understand it, but then how do you imbibe it? How do you, digest it? And that is where, it takes time.
Correct. So I'll spend a few minutes to answer this point. So prior to that, just let us do verse number 50, and then we will be able to do verse 51, 52, 53 on next Tuesday, and that will put a end to a logical section. And then in the 54th verse, Arjun asks one question, which will start a new logical section. So let's do 50. It will not take much time. Buddhi yukto jahatiha
बुद्धियुक्तो
Buddhiyukto
जहातीह
jahatiha
ubhe sukrita dushkrute
उभे
ubhe
सुकृता दुष्कृते
dushkrite
tasmad yogaya yujjasva.
tasmat
तस्मात् योगाय
yogaya
युज्यस्य वा
yujasva
Yoga karmasu kaushalam.
योगः
yoga
कर्मसु
karmasu kaushalam.
कौशलम्
Translation.
Hare Krishna. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So what is this? Now basically work is being talked about as art here. Okay, why art? Because it comes out naturally when the attitude or the approach towards the work is corrected. So the moment I accept this fact that I am not supposed to work for my sense gratification, I should work for Krishna, or I should work without any attachment to result, then I will start changing my approach, my attitude towards my work. And gradually over a period of time, I would have mastered this art. Not even once will I actually make a mistake of performing work for our own benefit. In our particular case, in case of my family, how practically it got applied, meaning we did not take specific efforts for that, but it happened automatically with the mercy of the Lord. Okay. So previously, around 20 odd years back, every time we see or I saw a good, beautiful flower, I felt like, buying it and giving it to my wife. Now, gradually, what happened, we realized that when we offer the fruit flower to the Lord and the decoration and all looks more beautiful. Then we started liking offering fruits for the Lord. Over a period of time, now when we have our own garden here and so many flowers keep coming, it has reached a stage wherein the moment we see a flower, okay, the thought of utilizing it for our own benefit doesn't come to us. The first thought that comes to us is we can offer this nicely to Krishna. When a flower goes wasted, sometimes, when we are plucking out the flowers, it sometimes falls on our feet, which becomes unusable for the Lord. So we feel bad, not because we cannot utilize it for ourselves, but we cannot offer it to the Lord. So this mentality shift happens gradually, and then it becomes a kind of a attitude and approach imbibed within our natural behavior, because of which we can consider that that work is an art actually. That's why Krishna says yoga karma su kaushalam. Okay, kaushal meaning expert. Okay, so how the word kaushal was came into picture. So there is one type of grass named as kusha grass. Not sure if you all have heard it, but the previously the sages and the brahmanas, they used to use this type of grass to make a mat out of it, and they used to sit on the mat while doing the puja. Now this grass, kusha grass, it emits a certain type of fragrance or odor which detracts the insects to come towards it, because of which the brahmanas or the sages were able to perform the yajna and the sacrifices and all that without any disturbances from these insects. So this type of grass was preferred by them. specifically for performing these activities. Now, this grass, when you have to pluck out from the ground, from the soil, it had to be done in a real very correct manner, because this grass was so pointed. If you hold the grass in an incorrect manner while plucking it, you might cut your fingers and it will bleed. So that's why they used to either learn this art then use it, or they used to call a Brahman who is actually expert in plucking this grass, and then he used to pluck it in an expert manner. That's why the Kusha grass, the one who is able to pluck it, is called as Kushal, and that is called as expertise and expert. Kushal meaning expert, and Kaushal meaning expertise. So with proper expertise, you perform your activity, and that is called as yoga. That is what he is uh, explaining here. So now, when you perform this activity, the approach should be that I am not doing this for my any kind of material benefit. And if you do not do that, then the reaction to that work does not come to us, neither good nor bad. And that is only possible when you engage yourself in proper bhakti yoga, when you do your activities for Krishna. That's why Krishna is saying that gradually, when you start performing bhakti, your incorrect approach towards a similar activity gradually diminishes. And then you start performing this activity in an expert manner, as if you never did the wrong activity before, or activity in the wrong manner before. And that's why he is calling the work as art here. Simple to understand.
Yes, Prabhu.
difficult है कुछ, any difficulty at least in understanding. We will go into deeper ये क्यों है कैसा है करके.
No, Prabhuji, all good.
Okay, so now okay, let's understand this. Okay, uh, Arjun asked 4 questions in the first chapter and fifth one in the second chapter. The Lord did answer these questions until verse number 38, 39 in the second chapter, and part of it he answers in verse number 24 of the third chapter also. Okay, but these were not the actual questions that should actually come to his mind, because Bhagavad Gita, okay, Krishna stops answering his 4 or 5 questions by the verse number 38, 39, 40. So Bhagavad Gita may have started because of Arjuna's 5 questions, but the Lord, when he says ki dharma samsthapanarthaya, one of the 3 objectives because of which he descends on the earth, so that one of the objective is to establish the principles of religion, dharma. Now, do you think by answering these 4 questions, 5 questions, the Lord would actually set up the principles of religion? No, he did not. In fact, whatever answer he gave from verse number 11 in the second chapter till verse number 39, when he says, now I'm going to teach you differently, that everything of whatever he spoke, he has overridden it in these verses. Yeah, from verse number 41 till 45, even 50 to 53 also he speaks. So these 12, 13 verses that he has spoken override whatever he spoke in the 30, 40 verses before. So that means it definitely not was Lord's objective was not to give that message which was coming out of Arjuna's questions. That means the Lord wanted to give some other message. Yeah, this is simple. And what was the Lord intending to give? Let's take a very quick look at the 18th chapter. Okay, let's read this translation of verse number 64. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction. Purposely look at this word, supreme instruction. Na? The most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is your benefit. Now, Bhagavad Gita is like a ladder. instruction number 1, then instruction number 2. When he gives instruction number 2, he talks about the negatives of instruction number 1 and the positives of instruction number 2. Then he goes on to talk instruction number 3. When he talks about instruction number 3, he talks about the negatives of instruction 2 and positives of instruction 3. That way he climbs the ladder of knowledge. Okay, but now at this point of time, he is saying the supreme instruction. That means the final ladder, the final step in the ladder. Okay, and what is it? These are the two verses, 65 and 66. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. And abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. These are the two most important instructions of whole of Bhagavad Gita. Now the point comes up now. Let's say if Arjun, when he asks these 5 questions, if Krishna were to answer only these two verses, only these 2 verses, because it is the supreme instruction, what would happen? We would say ki Bhagavad Gita is nonsense. There is no logic involved. What is Arjun asking? What is the Lord answering? Right? It was obvious, right? You will ask this one. So to avoid that, because our knowledge level is very low, we cannot link that question to the answer properly without the steps in the ladder. That's why the Lord is taking us one step at a time, from Karma Kanda to Sakam Karma Yoga to Nishkam Karma Yoga to Jnana Karma Yoga, and then Karma Sannyas Yoga, then Dhyan Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga. That way, he's taking us upwards. And this is the pinnacle of Bhakti Yoga. So the point is that because he wants to explain this one, that's why he used all that as ladder. So whatever you are learning right now, okay, firstly, this second chapter is the summary of whole of Bhagavad Gita. Then what will start is the individual topics he will take. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth chapter, he will elaborate that. So you will find third chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter very difficult to understand, and very difficult, even more difficult to implement also. And that is precisely what Arjun also tells the Lord. Okay, so I'll just take 2 minutes of yours. Okay, Arjun said, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable for me because the mind is restless and unsteady. Why? Because all of these activities which the Lord explains in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chapter requires good amount of mind and sense control. Okay. And Arjun is saying that the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. It is more difficult to control the mind than controlling the wind. So to control the wind, it is possible. And we know controlling the wind, for us, it is impossible. So he's saying it is possible to control the wind, but not control the mind. So what happened now? What has happened? Why is it spoken in this manner? It says basically that in the current Kali Yuga, these instructions will be very difficult to implement for people like us. And the simpler route to achieving even a higher objective, not even the same objective, a higher objective, is Bhakti Yoga. And that is where now the background, and one more question of Arjun, Bhakti Yoga will start after that. So you might consider this to be impractical, and which is not wrong, right? Which is not wrong. But whatever the Lord has mentioned gets covered in Bhakti Yoga automatically. Because Bhakti, when you do, it becomes a selfless, unmotivated, and consistent, favorable activity towards the Lord. Whereas, as I mentioned, Karma Yoga is doing an activity without attachment to result, but there is no knowledge aspect to that. But Bhakti Yoga is knowledge is there, activity is there, and favorable also is there. So just hold on to Bhagavad Gita for some more time, and you might consider certain aspect impractical, and that is not wrong. It is difficult, but it is not impossible, of course. But it is difficult. So uh, a cue that I can take from as a lesson learned for me is basically I will try and give more practical lessons of implementing these instructions wherever possible. Hare Krishna. Is that okay, Manju Mataji?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Any question? No?
No.
Okay. Chalo. Then let's meet next Tuesday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna,
so much.
Prabhuji.
So
Dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.